Hi everyone, welcome to day 10 of the Azure Advent Calendar blog series. Today I'm going to be talking about cost-saving tips and some strategies for deploying your Azure virtual machines and its associated storage. My name is Thomas Thornton. I have an active Azure blog, thomasthornton.cloud, which I do recommend you check out after this video. I will also have a comprehensive blog of today's video that you're currently watching, and my Twitter handle is on the screen. Do give me a follow, and if you have any queries in relation to my blogs and or this video, do give me a shout. And today I'm also joined by Thor, my French bulldog, who is wishing everyone a very Merry Christmas as well. So let's get started. What shall we be learning today? On the screen, I have 3 areas in which I'm going to discuss in the coming slides in this video. The first, how to cost save when deploying Azure virtual machines. Suggestions and areas to look at within virtual machine deployments within your environment. And it will be including examples of cost saving and recommended deployment procedures to help you with cost saving within your virtual machine environment. Following on, storage deployments associated with Azure virtual machines. How can we save when deploying these resources? These resources will include both Azure Blob Storage and also Azure Files. So on top of virtual machine cost saving, I'm going to be looking at its associated storage deployments that you may be deploying along with virtual machines. And as I've mentioned, Blob Storage and Azure Files. And also I'll be referencing Lifecycle Management within this and how it can assist you in cost saving. And to finish off, Azure related tools to assist with the above. So I will go through the main sort of Azure tooling that it provides to assist you with cost saving and to thoroughly plan out your environment deployments. Let's get bursting. Burst series deployments. Azure have B series virtual machines, and these are an economic series that provide a lower cost option for workloads that are not usually CPU intensive and can run at a low to moderate CPU baseline. Ideally, workloads running a B series, they really do not require the use of their full CPU at all times, and occasionally may need the occasional burst or the additional burst to complete a task more rapidly. Be careful. Be careful. Not all workloads can be converted directly to a B series deployment without careful consideration into how your application and environment runs. You really do need to strike a balance between the cost and CPU consumption. So the cost of the virtual machine against the CPU consumption, and it may sometimes be more cost effective to say deploy the B series, but then you will be at a constraint because the virtual machine is constantly maxing out its CPU, and the way B series work, it works on a credit basis, and once the baseline is met, the credits will start getting used up, and once the credits are all used, the baseline goes back down, and you can really have a bottleneck within your environment if that does happen. So definitely be careful. The B series virtual machines, they are really designed to offer that burstable performance when needed. Applications deployed to these virtual machines will leverage flexible CPU usage and, as I've mentioned, suitable for workloads that may over time require a spike in their CPU performance. Otherwise, the workloads run at a long time using only a small portion of the CPU performance. And as mentioned, baseline and credit limits, they do vary between each of the B series virtual machines. So the lower spec ones will have less credit and baselines to work with. And additionally, when the VM does get powered down, all accumulated credits are lost. So B series virtual machines, they're really designed for low use or predictable workloads that are required to be available at all times. So possibly having B series virtual machine deployments in your maybe dev test and small to medium proof of concepts. On the screen, I have a costing example of deploying both a B series virtual machine and the sort of DS equivalent. You can see on the screen it is a significant cost saving. So this is where deploying possibly dev and test environments like that. This is where the cost saving will be coming from, and it's definitely a significant cost saving. So I do recommend checking them out. Reserved instances. Do you know, in the coming year or more, will you be using the same virtual machine size within your environment? Say for production, the sizing may never change, or there's no scope that you actually change the sizes within production. Well then, reserved instances, they are for you. And you can purchase a 1 year or a 3 year term with Azure, and they come with a single upfront payment, and if for recent times, you can move to a monthly payment plan. And you can save up to 72% of your virtual machine cost. And along with Azure Hybrid Benefit, you could even save up to 80%. Azure Hybrid Benefit, I have a slide on this later in the video, and it is a Windows only licensing saving. So I will discuss that later on. And as the name does indicate, Azure reserved instances are for those virtual machines that are pretty much going to be running for a long time. And this is where the saving comes in. The prices for reserved instances are significantly lower than non-reserved instances. So anytime you need to have a long-running VM of a year or more, then you really should be looking at opting into using reserved instances to gain a serious cost saving. Now let's have a look at a costing example of a virtual machine within a 1 year and a 3 year reserved instance cost, along with the standard pay-as-you-go cost. So my example is a DS4 V2 virtual machine, 2 CPU, 8 gig RAM. A monthly cost pay-as-you-go is £677.10. If you move this to a 1 year reserved monthly cost, £409.78. So the cost has dropped significantly already. And if you move it to even a 3 year cost, the cost goes down even more. So that's £353.63. That's actually near half the cost of one virtual machine. So imagine this within your environment. Say you're maybe 30, 40 virtual machines, even hundreds of virtual machines running, and you know that you're going to be using Azure, the same specification, for 1 year or even 3 years. The cost can definitely decrease, serious decrease. So I do recommend looking at reserving instances and giving them a go. Reserved instances even have a purchase experience where Microsoft will make a number of recommended based recommendations on your last 30 days usage, and this will even include potential further cost savings. So do give reserved instances a go. Azure Hybrid Benefit. As mentioned, Azure Hybrid Benefit is a pricing benefit for customers who have licenses with software assurance, which helps maximize the value of existing on-premise Windows Server and our SQL Server license investments when migrating to Microsoft Azure. And with this benefit, eligible customers, they can save up to 40% on their Azure Virtual Machine licensing. So that's the IaaS, and then can save up to 55% on Azure SQL Database, the PaaS equivalent for SQL, and SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machines. There's a cost saving there as well with using Hybrid Benefit. And as I've said, combining both Hybrid Benefit and reserved instances, you could save up to possibly 80% of your virtual machine costing. So definitely both worth looking at. On the screen is this Azure Hybrid Benefit Calculator. I have a link there and also a screenshot which you can actually work with. So straight away you can see the annual estimated cost saving while using Hybrid Benefit. So the licensing, really cool and worth having a look as well. Azure Dev Test Labs. What is Azure Dev Test Labs? Well, they're labs that consist of pre-configured base images or resource templates that can be reused. These configurations have all the required setup, tools, and software that you require to build your complete environment. These configurations help developers and testers quickly create environments in Azure for a development and testing perspective of the application. It really does take minimal effort to provision Windows and or Linux virtual machines in these dev test labs, and throughout using reusable templates and artifacts while minimizing waste and constantly controlling costs. Features of an Azure Dev Test Lab. They do include the ability to simplify cost management, quickly set up environments, integrate with existing tool chains such as Azure DevOps, and throughout everything is tailored towards your environment. Additionally, by using Dev Test Labs, you can manage costs by numerous configurations, including the number of virtual machines allowed per lab, maximum number of virtual machines allowed per user. You could even set virtual machine size limits. So the higher CPU memory virtual machines, they may not be allowed to be deployed in the development and test from a costing perspective. Virtual machine setup and shutdown times. You can configure the startup and shutdown at various times and various environments can have different schedules. And then you can even select virtual machine expiry dates. This is pretty cool. Say, for example, you're deploying numerous environments, maybe on a daily or weekly basis. You can set the virtual machines to expire so they are removed after a certain date. So create once, use everywhere. And as I have on the video, fast, easy, and lean dev test environments pretty much sums up dev test labs in a few words. And I do recommend having a look at this further to see how you can integrate it with your environment. Have you ever thought about deploying your Azure virtual machines into a different region? This may sound drastic, but deploying virtual machines into a different region can save money. Various Azure regions are cheaper than others for virtual machines deployments. So the older mature regions, such as possibly East US, East US 2, are going to be cheaper than deploying virtual machines into the newer regions, such as UK South, UK West. So if you're not required for data compliance, etc., to have your virtual machines in a specific region, then looking at an older, mature region is definitely a viable option in relation to cost saving. And on the screen is a cost saving example of deploying a DS3 version 2 virtual machine into both UK South and East US. You're going to be saving more than £60 by just selecting a different region. So this is perfect for deployment of development and testing environments where latency and other region-related issues may not be effective. So definitely worth having a look at and deploying in a different region. And it definitely works well with testing and development environments, possibly production, but then you're going to fall into, as I mentioned, latency issues, things like that. So worth having a look at and a consideration. Virtual machine uptime. Have you considered, does your environment really need to be on 24/7? This is definitely a simple procedure to implement that can have a big impact on your monthly cost. Have a review of your virtual machines to see if they really do need to be on 24/7. On the screen is the costing of a D11 version 2 virtual machine in UK South for 1 month, £204.84. So say this could be a training virtual machine and you've decided that the virtual machine only needs to be on 24 hours a week and times that by 4, that will leave you with £22.04. That's a significant saving. So imagine your development environment consists of 10 to 20 virtual machines. Do they really need to be on 24/7? It's definitely worth having a look at and a consideration for each of your environments to see if the virtual machine really does need to be on 24/7, and if not, look at implementing scripts and various shutdown actions so you begin cost saving straight away in relation to the virtual machine's uptime. Auto scaling, virtual machine skill sets. An Azure virtual machine skill set can automatically increase or decrease the number of virtual machine instances that run your application. This automated approach and elastic behavior, it reduces the management overhead to monitor and optimize the performance of your application, along with introducing cost saving without any additional need. So how does auto-scaling work? Well, you create specific rules for your skill set groups to scale when required, whether that be time specific on performance related areas such as possibly greater than 60% CPU over a 15-minute period, or a certain time of the day, or a certain time of the month. The skill sets will increase and decrease depending on the upper and lower thresholds. So skill sets, they really are great. And I should also note, for auto-scaling virtual machines and skill sets to work, you do really need to ensure your virtual machines are fully automated. And benefits of this include consistent scalability. It can scale on demand, as I've mentioned, and it also provides high availability and application resiliency. So pretty cool, worth having a look at. Do check out virtual machine skill sets. Do you really need that bigger virtual machine instance? Quite a few times you may create an environment from prereqs that contain a certain virtual machine spec, and after a number of months, you may begin to review your virtual machine usage, and you've determined that you really don't need that virtual machine size, and a smaller instance is viable. Well, from a cost-saving perspective, this is highly recommended, and this can drastically save cost over time. To be honest, it is a common issue, And when you're creating new cloud resources, figuring out the right size to use can be quite tricky and possibly sometimes even complicated until you understand how your application is going to run, and this could take several months. To help you along, Azure offer a large number of options to accommodate your different requirements. Possibly you need an instance that has more RAM, more CPU power, even SSD drives, maybe own dedicated GPUs. There's all certain families of Azure virtual machine instances which, over a costing perspective, they will see if you go for the instance policy with more CPU power and less RAM, maybe the ones with the dedicated GPUs. And it's definitely worth having a look at from that perspective. And ways to monitor and to see if you actually need that virtual machine size, which you first specified. You can use third-party monitoring solutions such as possibly Zabbix and Nagios. Azure Monitor has various recommendations, which I have a couple of slides on later in my video, and even viewing the virtual machine metrics from the Azure portal. If you select the virtual machine, you will see a number of metrics straight away, and you can use that to assist you in determining if you actually need that virtual machine size or not. Okay, now let's look at Azure Storage. And from my previous slides, I've went through various ways how you can cost save with Azure virtual machines. So the most likely case is that when you're deploying virtual machines, you'll be deploying some type of storage as well. And that is usually Blob Storage and our Azure files. And when you do deploy Azure Storage or Blob Storage specifically, there is a type of replication, and there is various types of storage which you really should consider as well. Do you really need the GRS replication, or is LRS sufficient for possibly temporary files, things like that? So it's worth having a look at. And on the screen, I've got the 4 types of replication that Azure Blob Storage offer, and the lower down you go, the more expensive it is, because the more times it's replicating, or where it's replicating to is a greater geographic distance than, say, for LRS. And taking that into consideration as well will make you cost save from a storage perspective. Okay, in my previous slide, we had a quick look at Blob Storage. Now Azure Files. What are Azure Files? Well, Azure Files offers fully managed file share in the cloud that is accessible over the SMB protocol, so the standard server message and block protocol. Pretty cool. It's pretty much a file share out of the box. As soon as you deploy it, it's ready to go, and its benefits are all built in straight away. So it can simplify cloud development, replace file server functionality, and this, from a costing perspective, can be quite great. There's no need for resilient, but possibly file servers anymore, depending on what you're actually deploying. Azure Files can be more than sufficient for a redundant file share. Right. It's pretty cool, it works well, and very easy to deploy. Next benefit, SMB authentication with Azure AD. This is quite a new feature, and you can authenticate now with an Azure AD user rather than the generic user that Azure gives you. So multiple users can have different permissions as well. And also scalability. This is straight out of the deployment. As soon as you deploy it, it's fully scalable. You don't need to worry about those resilient file servers anymore, and you can go straight to your virtual machine deployment and attach your Azure Files to. Also as well, Azure Files has various network restrictions. It has the same firewalling setup as the Blob Storage access as well. And all in all, it's definitely worth having a look at for storing your files rather than creating a file server or a redundant file server set up in your environment. Azure Storage Lifecycle Management. Lifecycle Management offers a rich rule-based policy for GPv2 and Blob Storage accounts. Use the policy to transition your data to the appropriate access tiers or expire at the end of the data's lifecycle. Datasets. Datasets have unique life cycles. Early in the lifecycle, customers may access some data often, but the need for access drops drastically as the data ages. Some data stays idle in the cloud and it may rarely be accessed once stored, or even some data expires days or months after creation, while other data sets are actively read day to day and modified throughout their lifetimes. Creating a lifecycle management policy. What does it let you do? Well, it can let you transition blobs to a cooler storage tier, or even from hot to cool, hot to archive, or cool to archive, to optimize for both performance and cost. Or a policy can let you delete blobs at the end of their life cycles. Or you can even define rules to be read once per day at the storage account level. And you can apply these rules to containers or a subset of blobs using prefixes as filters. Now, let's look at a scenario. Consider the scenario where data gets frequently accessed during the early stages of a life cycle, but only occasionally after 2 weeks. And beyond the first month, the dataset is rarely accessed. In this scenario, hot storage is recommended to be used during the early stages. Cool storage is most appropriately recommended for occasional access, while archive storage is the best tier option after the data ages over a month. And by adjusting storage tiers in the respect to the age of data, you can design the least expensive storage option for your needs. To achieve this transition, lifecycle management policy rules are available to move aging data to cooler tiers. Let's have a look to see what tools Azure provide to assist you in cost saving. Azure has numerous tools to assist you with analyzing and auditing your current spend. These tools can be used to identify where you're spending unnecessary, and unused resources can be removed or shut down to save money. This doesn't even mean from only a virtual machine or a storage account level. All other resources are considered within these tools as well, and let's have a look at some of these tools. Azure Pricing Calculator. I'm sure you have used Pricing Calculator to price up possibly your proof of concept, or even from a consideration perspective or a thought into deploying some new resource or additional resources. Pricing Calculator would be one of the first tools or one of the first ports of call that you would be looking at. Well, within Pricing Calculator, you can create pricing estimates for all areas within Azure, from virtual machines, app services, functions, even to Azure Kubernetes. And also, there's example scenario costings. This is pretty cool. So say for consideration, you're thinking of a simple IaaS environment. Within example scenarios, you can select that, or even a Kubernetes environment, or even functions, or you're looking at using Cosmos DB. That can all be considered within an example scenario, and a predefined scenario can be used to get a flavor of the costing of that, how much that will cost within your current environment or new environment that you're thinking of deploying. Using Azure Policies. Azure Policy is a service in Azure that lets you create, assign, and manage policies. These policies enforce different rules and effects over your resources. So those resources stay compliant with your corporate standards, service level agreements, and also from costing. Azure Policy meets the needs by pretty much evaluating your resources for non-compliant resources with the assigned policies that you have assigned. Examples of these policies from a costing perspective can include VM SKU size, SKU limitations. So say, for example, your development environments can't deploy the higher GPU virtual machines, or the high CPU, or the more expensive virtual machines. You can have restrictions in place for that. Storage types. Maybe the storage types in development can only be LRS rather than GRS. And also with policies, you can restrict where the resources can be deployed, what regions they can be deployed in. And what is a policy assignment? A policy assignment is a policy definition that has been assigned to take place within a specific scope. And these scopes could range from management groups to a resource group. The term scope refers to all resource groups, subscriptions, or management groups the policy definition is assigned to. Policy assignments themselves are inherited by all child resources. So this design means that a policy applied to a resource group is applied to resources or all resources in that resource group. However, you can exclude a sub-scope from that policy assignment as well. An example, at the subscription scope, you can assign a policy that prevents the creation of networking resources. You could exclude a resource group in the subscription that is intended for networking infrastructure. You can then grant access to this networking resource group to users that you trust with creating networking resources. Azure Advisor. Azure Advisor is absolutely awesome. It helps you optimize your Azure resources for high availability, security, performance, and also from a costing perspective by providing personalized recommendations based on your usage and configurations. So over time, Azure Advisor will become pretty much better and better. The more you use Azure, the more Advisor will help you. And it could give you various recommendations, including suggested virtual machines to resize, virtual machines to shut down that are inactive, cost utilization, and it'll even show estimated cost savings within your environment. Azure Advisor helps you optimize and improve the efficiency by identifying idle and underutilized resources. So pretty cool and absolutely awesome. I've included a link in the video and it's on screen at the moment. I recommend having a look at that, reading up further and having a look at Azure Advisor within your current environment and see where you can see it from a costing perspective. And then you can move into even for performance, security, and also high availability as well. It will give you recommendations for all this. Cost analysis within Azure. Azure Cost Management is the primary tool used for cost analysis. And it's a useful tool to analyze your costs, but is only available to enterprise agreement customers currently. And although it will be available to other customers in the future, there's no set date as of yet. You can also use Cloudrun, which provides a base for Azure Cost Management. And although the majority of these features are paid for a service, it's worth having a look at to see if your subscription is, or if this is something that can be catered for your subscription and it's going to be a benefit. So within both, you can set budgets, and budgets, they help you plan for and drive organizational accountability. With budgets, you can account for the Azure services you consume or subscribe to during a specific period. They also help you inform others about their spending, to proactively manage costs, and to monitor how spending progresses over time. When the budget threshold that you've created is exceeded, only notifications are triggered. None of your resources are affected and consumption isn't stopped. You can use budgets to compare and track spending as you analyze costs. Costs and usage data is typically available within, say, 12 to 16 hours, and budgets are evaluated against these costs every 4 hours. Email notifications are normally received within 12 hours. Budgets reset automatically at the end of a period, monthly, quarterly, or annually, for the same budget amount when you select an expiration date in the future. Because they reset with the same budget amount, you can create separate budgets when a budgeted currency amounts differ for future periods. You can also create spending limits. The spending limit in Azure prevents spending over your credit amount. All new customers who sign up for an Azure free account or subscription types that include credit over multiple months have spending limits turned on by default. The spending limit is equal to the amount of credit and it can't be changed. Now, once you reach a spending limit, your usage results in charges that exhaust your spending limit. Well, the service that you deployed or disabled for the rest of the billing period. So this is definitely one to watch out when you do create a spending limit, as your services can just be stopped. So let's summarize. The cost analysis and cost management. You can check costs to track your Azure spending, create costs alerts when thresholds are met, and you can also create budgets and spending limits. As well, you can create various dashboards and graphs and queries for different departments who are interested in the billing of your subscription. And I've included a link in this video, it's currently on the screen, to have a look at billing getting started. Have you ever thought about auditing your Azure usage? I would recommend auditing your Azure usage on a monthly basis. The MVRs to begin with could have quite a cost-saving impact in the coming months. A good auditing tool is found within your Azure subscription in the portal. And viewing this can show you your current burn rate, and which you can potentially see cost savings with any Azure recommendations. And the best sort of solution for auditing, once you have got that configured, would be implement a basic cloud asset governance plan. In a nutshell, For each resource you create, you'll want to use tags and other strategies to categorize how the asset will be used. For example, dev, test, or even production. And then you want to specify a single owner for the resource, typically the person who requested this resource. So then when you do auditing on a monthly basis or bi-monthly, you come along and you'll see this resource, and then you can see who the user is who's created it, and then you can check with them if the resource is still needed, if it looks inactive. And then you can determine expiration or checkup date for the resource. So this falls on from what I've just said. And make sure to follow the schedule and eliminate any unnecessary resources promptly. So this is all from a cost saving perspective. And also ensure you set out your resources in Azure in a common way and use tags so that you can easily manage and report on their use and purpose. And when it comes to removing the resources, I've given some examples above. Our reporting on usage, the structure becomes invaluable and can result in big cost savings. And speaking wider than just virtual machines, it can become easy to leave unused resources sitting within your subscription, and depending on the subscription size, possibly forgotten about. So, from what I've said about auditing, it can all really result in unnecessary costings. And implementing a basic auditing strategy, you will see these cost savings in the coming months. Use automation. Automate, and even automate more. The possibilities really are endless with what you want to achieve with automation within Azure to assist you with cost saving. There's numerous ways. I have some on the screen. Azure Runbooks can assist you, Azure Functions, even Azure DevOps feeding into your CI/CD pipeline, and Azure Automation as a whole. So examples of this include runbooks to start-stop virtual machines. Even the likes of Azure Firewall can be stopped when it's not in use. Update management, you can automate patching for development, for test environments, even for possibly training environments. You can use functions for various assistants with virtual machines and blobs. You can even automate resource tagging with this. And Azure DevOps, CI/CD pipeline for your virtual machines. All really good stuff, and it's worth spending time having a look at each and see how it can be used to implement a further cost saving strategy. So, the end. Thank you for listening, firstly, and I hope you can take away something from these slides in the video and even the blog to assist you with cost saving, whether it be a strategy or a few tips or even a link to one of the Microsoft articles I've included to assist you further. So, and also, as I've mentioned, make sure to check out my blog. I have various blogs, numerous blogs, and also exam study guides for exams that I've taken. And lastly, have a good Christmas, and be sure to check out the rest of the Azure Advent Calendar videos and in the coming days. They're really, really awesome stuff, and thank you.